Good evening. You're welcome to News Tonight. My name is Abena and I'm here with
Kweku Temin. Well, within the next hour, we're bringing you all the updates of stories making headlines. Don't forget that we'll touch base with some international news as well as bring you up to speed on what is happening in our world of sports. Before we bring you every bit of those details, let's take our headlines.
Anxious and angry parents besieged the computer school selection placement center to secure last-minute placements for the awards.
I think they are denying my award as education because I don't know how my award will come from the voter region to come and stay in a day school whereby I don't have any relative in Taban here. And you can see at this moment rent allowances and all those things.
Coming up tonight, Board of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission describes allegation made by the Union of the Commission against management as baseless and libelous.
Now, it's a profession dominated by men, but some daring women are taking up the challenge to take the men on the wheels.
The truck drivers, they used to worry us, they used to insult us, but we are proud of what we are doing.
The side of town, as nightlife in the slum, we explore the vibrant nightlife in one of the biggest slums here in Accra.
When you're being snatched in Lima, or when someone by accidentally snatch your bag, people will fight for you.
Well, on the foreign front, anti-Nyasingbe protests continue in Togo for a third day as protesters clash with security forces will be live in the country. Thank you for joining us on News Tonight. Now, here's our first story. The Board of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has described allegations made by the Union of the Commission, led by Alhaji Jabaru Abukari, as unfounded and libelous. The board insists the actions of members of the union have been orchestrated to disrupt activities of the PURC. On Thursday, members of the union locked up the offices of the commission, demanding the immediate resignation of Executive Secretary of the commission, Samuel Sapo. Now, here's a wrap of event on Thursday. All right, so we are bringing that to you. The board of the commission has actually issued a statement on development, and Kweku will let us in on details of that statement. But before that, we can now bring you a wrap of the events that unfolded at the PURC offices yesterday nationwide.
The action followed a resolution reached by executive members of the Workers' Union after a meeting late Wednesday, September 6, 2017. According to Alhaji Jabaru Abukari, the current board is unconstitutional and incompetent as they can no longer take technical decisions for the commission.
We've never in our lifetime experienced such an incompetent board before. They came to just destroy and roll back the gains of the commission.
The executive secretary, Samuel Sapong, was alleged to have transferred over 400,000 cedis into his personal account, while public relations officer Nanaya Jantua is also reported to have spent over 100,000 cedis on 350 Christmas hampers in 2012. At least some 20 staff of the commission have been interrogated by the Bureau of National Investigations, including 2 top management members. Following the publication, Nanaya Jantua, in a memo to the executive secretary, tendered in her resignation from the commission. Months after the investigations into the allegation was concluded, report submitted to the chief of staff, Akosua Fremau Pare, the staff say they are yet to hear any decisive action from the government, while the embattled executive secretary stays at post. Alhaji Jabaru Abukari is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the PURC.
Most of our members were invited. They went to the BNI. They gave their side of the story. The BNI at a point detained the executive secretary and Nanaya Agentua because they felt that at a point they needed to assist them in further investigations, which they've in a way concluded, and they have sent their reports to the executive to the chief of staff. Almost 2 months, we've not heard anything. PURC we have been diplomatic. That's the reason why all this thing has dragged for long.
All right, so those are some of the happenings around the PURC.
Interesting developments there.
Yesterday. There's a statement that's already out, but we'll share these slides with you very shortly on your screen so that you get to understand some of the facts. Now, members, that's a press release that's actually come out, and I'll take bits and pieces of it, and Abena will join with the rest. Now, members of the governing board of the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, that's the PURC, deemed it very regrettable that the unruly activities coupled with the unsubstantiated, unproven, and potentially libelous pronouncement orchestrated by the union of the PURC and led by its chair, Alhaji Abubakar Jabaru.
Yeah, and so the statement, as you have on your screen, goes on to say that what was their justification for embarking on the needless and destructive action on Thursday, September 7th, 2017, which denied hard-working citizens regulatory services and for which these workers are receiving salaries regularly. According to Alhaji Jabaru, the Deputy Public Relations and External Affairs Manager, Nanaya Achampim Jantua, was observed at the headquarters and was alleged to have attended a meeting which she reportedly lobbied to be reinstated. Now, for the purposes of background, the statement says that it is necessary to recall that in May 2017, Nanaya Jantua, who worked in the public service for a period of 26 years, tendered in her resignation to take effect on November 15th, 2017, while taking the opportunity to enjoy her accumulated leave. And she has been on leave since May 2017. So that's something that the board wants to clarify there. And it says that some questions that they are asking Alhaji Jabaru, the Alhaji Jabaru-led union of the commission, that's Nanaya Jantua is still an employee of the PURC, and if she is an employee and has tendered in her resignation to be effective on November 15, 2017, and currently on leave, is she really barred from visiting her place of work? So that's a question that they are putting, and these are some of the questions that we will be putting to Alhaji Jabaru, who is on the line, with us now.
Well, a very good evening, Alhaji Jabaru. We're grateful that you've joined us on the line. So you have your board coming up with a statement this evening. Actually, I thought they were going to support you in this initiative, but they've come out to say that your activities and indeed what you carried out is baseless, and again described it as libelous. What do you have to say?
Good evening to your viewers, and thank you for the opportunity.
Alhaji, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, in actual fact, when I saw the statement, I was so disappointed. And I think that if you have confrontations or you have a disagreement with your children, the way you go is to listen to them. But unfortunately, this is what we've been going through for a very long time. And now I think we have to go that way and prosecute our matters within the media. Whatever they have done or whatever they have said is completely not true, and nobody prevented Nanaya Agentua from having access to her office. Their concerns were that a day to the lockout, they saw Nanaya came into the premises to organize a meeting or to attend a meeting which was not known to the administrators of the place. We have HR officers and admin officers, and mostly when there is a meeting, they are the people who definitely will organize those meetings. But unfortunately, in this case, they were not even aware. So I had series of calls that very night, and I couldn't see. So I had to put a call through to the director of admin and find out why he should have organized a meeting without the notice of everybody, and it was in the secrecy. He said no, he was not aware, and it was the executive secretary who was at the center of this organization. So we didn't know what was the topic about and those things. So it was lending credence to the question or suspicion of staff. So we resolved on our platform that, look, we have to put back posters because posters were taken off, and 30 minutes after the posters were gone, Nanaya surfaced to have that meeting. And the suspicion was that they were going to have another meeting, and their allegation that they were going to kind of reinstate her.
Okay, Jabaru.
So I was talking to them, pleading that they should get the offices open so that people could go in, but we will not allow the board to have any meeting of that nature. That morning, Nanaya sent me a text message confirming that she was not coming back and she was gone for good. So I convinced them, and membership agreed, and later we had to find somebody to break the...
Jabaru, Nanaya Ajantua is a staff of the PURC. I mean, why would you want her to convince you with a text message that she's coming no more? I mean, you are not the employer there, so, I mean, why would it have to be a situation where Nanaya Ajantua should not be tolerated in and around the PURC premises?
My brother, I don't think you will also have the same opportunity that she has. Because in the sense that I've never seen anywhere that somebody will take over 200 days leave prior to her resignation. When you are resigning, you are resigning. This is even contrary to the Labor Act. The Labor Act Section 20 spells out how many days an individual is entitled to. And once you are not able to use it, it's off. Other staff, most staff in PURC have not been able to accumulate such amount of leave. And if you do it, it is against the labor regulations.
Okay.
So in that effect, we didn't even want to go in there. Nanaya's matter is something that we have dealt with completely. But our concern was the board. We have had our CPA, collective bargaining agreement proposal before you people, and you have not dealt with it with the understanding that you don't have the mandate to go into it. As of now, you were coming to meet over what? Now they are giving the electricity conference that Ghana was going to host. It should be in a secrecy. Ask any of the staff whether they are aware such a conference is even pending or PURC is organizing such a conference. Is that the way we operate in every organization?
Okay, Jabaru, I'll give you a scenario shortly. Now, when they were putting out the statement, whatever act you carried out, the board is saying that it was libelous. Now, it has strains of you could be legally prosecuted over this, or they could take you to court. But in your case, you just went out there, locked the offices and the like. Don't you think you are going overboard in this situation? And if you are not happy, why don't you go to the courts? Why don't you settle matters in the courts?
In actual fact, we didn't lock up any office. What we did was that we put up posters from your media houses, posters from your reportage, the various media houses. None of the issues that we have there, we generated it. They were things that we downloaded from the media various houses when they did their own, when she tendered in a resignation, when the PNR was investigating. These are issues that we have taken from different sources. So if they have any matter with somebody, then that should be the media house, not PURC staff. We were just putting it there to reiterate that these were the things that were there. None of them are from the media houses. And if you cross-check, we didn't even edit the name of the media house because we know what we are doing.
Okay, Jabaru, time is not on our side, so I'll just rudely interrupt you and ask you. So now that the board has come up with this statement, what's going to be your way forward? Because virtually looks like
on Monday we are meeting and we are going to now start. This was just impromptu. We didn't plan. We are now going to plan, and we are going to take actions that will send our message through to whoever is responsible or whoever the person has the authority to make us be comfortable in where we are working. So Monday we are meeting, and we are going to come. We are going to go according to whatever they expect us to do. But we are not relenting again, and we are not listening until we get whatever we want.
Alhaji Jabaru Abubakar, he leads the union of the PURC. Many thanks for joining us this evening, Abena.
Well, former President John Mahama has dismissed assertions that the National Democratic Congress does not support indigenous businesses. According to him, the NDC during his administration and over the years has a track record of elevating lower-income earners to middle-income status in the country. The former president was speaking at the maiden lecture of the party's Institute of Social Democracy in Accra.
There is a wide perception that social democracy means equalizing poverty, or the poorer you look, the more socialist you are. And I remember some of these perceptions were ingrained during the revolutionary times when we wore rubber-tie slippers and things. And so certainly we must redefine to the public mind and let them understand that social democracy does not amount to equalizing poverty. And that's one of the reasons why we need to make an analysis of the trends that are taking place in this country. Our party has contributed the most to the increase in the middle class of this country. In the period that NDC has been in office, we have seen the greatest upward movement of people from lower classes into the middle class. And yet when people get into the middle class, because of the perception that our party is social democratic and is against property owning and seeks to equalize poverty, then those same people that we have created the conditions to be upwardly mobile drift into the property owning classes and therefore identify themselves with a different ideology. And so that misconception must be erased.
All right, so we'll stay on that development some more as the former president also bemoaned the lack of patriotism amongst Ghanaians. Addressing the NDC's Institute of Social Democracy, John Mahama stated such values underpin development of the country and will be a priority of the institute. He says the school will not brainwash members, but rather give them a better understanding of the party's principles and ideologies.
Nationalism and patriotism have become very deficient in Ghana today. Absolutely nobody thinks about the country first. We all think about ourselves first, our families second, our parties third, maybe, our communities fourth, and Ghana comes a distant fifth or sixth or even 10th. And so if this institute not only trains cadres for the party to let them understand the ideological underpinnings of the NDC, because in 2002, as our national vice chair said, we adopted social democracy as our official party philosophy. And yet, I'm sure that if we ask, as many cadres, all over the country as possible what social democracy is, we'll get different interpretations of what social democracy is. And in many cases, most of our people are ignorant, really, what it is. And so we find that developing in our party are, tendencies that are not borne out by social democracy. Tendencies of self-interest, parochialism, lack of unity, divisiveness, undermining colleagues and cadres. These are the kinds of things that understanding the ideological underpinnings of a party will help us to avoid.
Let's talk about health. 61 out of 31,000 maternal deaths were recorded in the eastern region from January to June this year. Now, nearly 60 deaths were recorded in the first quarter of 2016 in the region. Limited number of ambulances required to respond to emergencies is one key challenge crippling healthcare delivery in the region.
The number of maternal deaths recorded in the Eastern from January to June this year is an increase in the number of deaths recorded during the same period last year. In 2016, the region recorded 58 deaths from January to June. Details of the 2017 report indicated that Kibi Community Hospital, Begro, Enyuesi, Akuse, Asamankese, Providence, Hawa, and Kade hospitals all recorded 1 death each during the year under review, while Atua and Sawem Asasawa hospitals also recorded 2 maternal deaths each. The audit report also indicated 89% of the maternal deaths were avoidable, while 36% were as a result of facility or administration-related challenges, which included lack of ambulance, oxygen, and resuscitation equipment. According to the Eastern Regional Director of the ambulance service in the region, the lack of ambulances in the region also crippled emergency medical services in the region.
These are vehicles that respond to emergency services. So what it means is that the ambulance can be engaged for a whole day without rest. So the more you run, the more you fire, the more you bring the efficiency of the engine down. So every day you get what they call it, the beam is cracked, the shafts are worn out, a whole lot of issues.
The head of administration at the Atua Government Hospital, Gate Frimpong, also identified the lack of ambulance service as some reason for the upscale in maternal deaths in the region.
There are some cases that you can't even put in pickups or commercial vehicles. And looking at where the hospital is situated, that is off the Tema Kusumu highway. So there are oftentimes we record accident cases, and they do call in that they need an ambulance. You see, maybe if the person had been rushed in from the accident scene to the nearest health facility, maybe the person would have survived. So for ambulance, it's very key. Every hospital needs an ambulance.
The Eastern Regional Director of Ghana Health Service, Dr. Charity Sapong, described the increase in the maternal deaths in the region as unacceptable and appealed to government to come to the aid of ambulance service in the region.
Whilst our deliveries are increasing, it appears our maternal death is also increasing. And we find this highly unacceptable, since several interventions have been put in place to improve maternal health in the region.
Away from health, let's talk about education. I'm sorry, it might not be one of the best news as anxious and angry parents throng the premises of the Computer Selection Placement Center at the Ministry of Education to secure last-minute placement for the awards. Now, this year's Computer Selection Placement System has been fraught with numerous setbacks, compelling the Education Ministry to extend the deadline for registration of students who were not placed for the 3rd time in just 1 week. Joshua Nanakwame Eyura has more in this report.
Significant anomalies plaguing the CSSPS since it started compelled the Ghana Education Service to consider a 3rd extension of the deadline to Friday, September 9, 2017. This follows an assurance by the Deputy Minister of Education, Yao Osei Educhum, that government is doing all it can to address the challenges. Somehow, his consoling words did not comfort the hundreds of anxious parents who on a daily basis beseech the premises of the Education Ministry to seek placement for the awards. The look on the faces of some of the parents who beseech the premises of the ministry depicts their confidence in the assurance made by the Deputy Minister is waning. The desperate and anxious parents could not hold back their frustration.
I got a grade 16 out of my 4 schools. My first choice was NAST. Second choice, I chose Ghana National, and my 3rd choice was Ghana Senior High. My last choice was St. Augustine's. And out of the 4 schools I chose, they gave me my last choice. When they gave me the last choice, actually my raw score was 401 out of 600. And so I was surprised when I got my last choice, because my last choice, I didn't expect to get that.
Is your problem, or your problem, does it have to do with the school itself or the distance?
Both the school and the distance, because we did not choose that school.
I think they are denying my word as education, because I don't know how my word will come from the voter region to come and stay in a day school whereby I don't have any relative in Taban here. And you can see at this moment rent allowances and all those things. No security, and I think they are denying my word education.
As the 24-hour deadline was fading for these parents to get their awards into various senior high schools, they started congregating around any official with CSSPS who granted them audience. The head of the unit in charge of the placement and transfer, Abena, shared with GH1 News team the peculiar challenge they've identified with most parents who come with their complaints.
Most parents you find around here, okay, are parents who did not partake in the selection of the schools. Okay, so they ended up leaving it for either the child to go select it, okay, or the maybe internet cafe that they will use for the person there to just select it. Okay, so they will just come and just say, oh, my child has been selected to a school that I don't have an idea. Yes, you don't have an idea because you did not partake in it, which is your responsibility as a parent.
Not all these parents can secure placement for their children before the deadline elapses, and it remains unclear if government will extend the time limit for the remaining students to secure the placement in senior high schools.
Well, there's good news for students who are yet to secure placements. This is because GH1 News can confirm that the deadline has been extended again, this time till the end of September.